You know, every single moment of your life, two things are happening at the exact same time. On one hand, you're gaining experiences, memories, and wisdom. But on the other, your body is also accumulating something else, a process that's been quietly ticking away since the day you were born. So today, let's dive right into that fundamental mystery, the mystery of aging. It's one of the biggest questions we can ask, right? Why do we age? It feels like this unbreakable rule of the universe. But is it some kind of biological glitch, or is it actually an essential feature of being human? We're gonna unpack the science and even the philosophy behind this thing we all go through. And this is where it all starts, with the central paradox of our existence. To live means to gather up all these incredible experiences, but at the same time, from a purely biological standpoint, to live also means to accumulate the effects of aging. It's a slow, steady process of decay. So how in the world do we square those two things? To get to the bottom of this, we're gonna have to zoom in. I mean, way in. We're gonna look at the tiny building blocks of our bodies and the little biological clock that's ticking inside every single one of them. Just think about this for a second. Your body isn't just one single thing. It's this enormous community of about 37 trillion cells. It's mind-boggling. And this whole metropolis is kept running by one thing, cell division. Old cells are constantly being replaced with new ones to keep you going. But, and this is a big but, that process can't just go on forever. And here's why. Eventually, a cell reaches a point where it just can't divide anymore. When that happens, it becomes what scientists call a senescent cell. You can kind of think of them as retired cells. They've done their job, they've stopped working, but they're still hanging around. And as we get older, more and more of these retired cells build up in our bodies, and that accumulation, well, that's what we actually call aging. So you're probably wondering, what tells a cell when it's time to retire? Well, the answer is something with a cool name, the Hayflick limit. It's basically a hardwired limit on how many times a cell is allowed to copy itself. Once it hits that number, that's it, it's done. It's like a biological countdown timer built into every single one of our cells. Okay, so let's just put it all together real quick. A normal, healthy cell does its job, and it divides. But every time it divides, it gets one step closer to that built-in limit. Eventually, bam, it hits the limit and becomes a senescent or retired cell. And as these guys start to pile up over the years, the signs of aging start to show. It's a pretty simple but relentless process. But hold on, because here is where the story gets really, really interesting. If aging is such a fundamental biological rule, what if I told you that some creatures out there have actually figured out how to break it? Let's take a look at a few of nature's incredible exceptions. So first up, meet the so-called immortal jellyfish. This thing has the ultimate escape plan. When it gets old or stressed out, it can literally revert back to its earliest baby stage, a polyp, and just start its life all over again. It doesn't just age gracefully, it hits a complete reset button. Incredible. And then there is this little guy, a true marvel of the mammal world, the naked mole rat. Now, it might not look like the poster child for eternal youth, but this creature has a biological superpower. It has a unique system that actively hunts down and removes those old, retired, senescent cells from its body. It basically has its own internal anti-aging cleanup crew working 24/7. And the results of having that cleanup crew are, well, just astounding. Look at this. A regular mouse might live for about 4 years. The naked mole rat, which is about the same size, it can live for over 30 years, and it stays healthy and active almost right up until the very end. It's basically found a way to hack the whole aging process. So this begs the obvious question. If these animals can do it, why can't we? Well, it turns out our cellular clock, that Hayflick limit, it's not a mistake. It's actually a trade-off, a really crucial one that protects us from something way, way more dangerous. To get this, we have to zoom back into our DNA. At the very tips of our chromosomes, we have these little protective caps called telomeres. The best way to think about them is like the little plastic tips on the end of your shoelaces that keep them from fraying. And here's the key. Every single time a cell divides, those telomeres get just a tiny bit shorter. And this shortening process, it's not a flaw, it's a feature. It is a deliberate self-defense system. Why? Well, think about it. What is cancer? It's just unlimited, out-of-control cell division. So by putting a hard limit on how many times a cell can divide, our bodies have this built-in safety switch to stop cells from going rogue and forming a tumor. And that brings us to this incredibly powerful conclusion. The Hayflick limit, the telomeres getting shorter, the buildup of senescent cells, It's all part of a grand bargain our species made a long, long time ago. To protect our bodies from the constant threat of cancer, we accepted the fate of aging. It's the price we pay for survival. But okay, this brings up another puzzle. If life is all about passing on your genes, why do humans live for so long after they can't reproduce anymore? From a strict evolutionary point of view, it seems kinda inefficient, right? But it turns out there's a huge, powerful advantage to it. Let's just take a quick look at our closest relatives, chimpanzees. A female chimp can have babies almost right up until the end of her life. There's really no post-reproductive phase to speak of. But humans? We're a huge exception. Women can live for decades after menopause. This long retirement period is a really unique part of being human. So what gives? Why did we evolve this long post-reproductive life? Well, the leading theory is something called the grandmother hypothesis. And it's a beautiful idea. It suggests that grandmothers played an absolutely vital role in our evolution. By helping to care for and raise their grandchildren, they made sure their own genes were more likely to survive and get passed on to the next generation. And really, we can broaden this idea beyond just grandmothers. The collective wisdom of all elders, their knowledge of where to find food, how to handle threats, how to build community, gave early human groups a massive survival advantage. A long life wasn't a bug in the system, it was a feature that allowed crucial knowledge to be passed down, making the whole group stronger. Now, inspired by creatures like the naked mole rat, scientists are already working on ways to clear out our own senescent cells. But this brings up a really profound question. What if we actually did it? What if we could cure aging? Let's just explore that thought for a minute. Just try to imagine it. A world where everyone stays young and fertile forever. Nobody grows old. There are no grandparents, no elders. What would a world like that truly be like? Would it really be the paradise we imagine? Well, the consequences could actually be pretty grim. If there's no younger generation to nurture and pass things on to, the whole incentive to share wisdom might just vanish. Selfishness could become the ultimate survival trait. You'd have unchecked population growth on a planet with limited resources. It might become a world driven not by legacy or community, but just by endless, unrestrained desire. So maybe the ultimate takeaway here is this. Maybe aging isn't the enemy we always make it out to be. Maybe it's the very thing that makes way for the new. It's what gives our lives a deadline, which encourages us to love, to create, and to share what we've learned. Maybe the meaning of our lives isn't found in trying to fight the end, but in embracing the entire cycle, a cycle defined by the profound necessity of growing old and of passing the torch.